What up? So, I'm doing a little bit of commission work for my film fighting, and I thought that I would do kind of an update to my Cyberpunk campaign. Just kind of going over like how it's going, how my one sheet rules are going, and the things I've had to change on them. So, I think it's been fun. I've really enjoyed it, and enjoy looking into like the cyberpunk stuff. However, it's not perfect. The one page rules, while simplistic, means basically all the side stuff I have to write a set of rules for. So, like, basically all of the cyberware I have to write rules for. I had to write a gun rule system, like a tier system for weapons. And I kind of had to like decide what I wanted to do with like the timeline and the technology in the world. I'm sort of playing like in between Cyberpunk 2020 and Cyberpunk 77, a mix of both. I'm using a lot of inspiration from the game for like quick hacking because I think it's actually really smooth. The game has tier systems for what their items do, especially the quick hacks. So I was able to just plug that in. So like just plug tier 1 through 5 in there and it worked out really well so far. Now, balancing wise, I want them to be strong just because the guns are too in my game. So like players conceivably right now can die from like a single gunshot if they're left unattended. And they can be just flat out like knocked down. Even some of the stronger players can be flat out knocked down from 2 rounds. Now they're discovering, like augments that reduce incoming damage. It also means that they don't want to straight up just run into gunfights. And I like that. I want this to be, a spicy, dangerous, like risky campaign. Part of the appeal of Cyberpunk is the possibility of death in that world. And so I'm having a lot of fun with that. And I think though in the last few sessions I've gone kind of like the psychological horror direction with it, and especially when dealing with like the Arasaka like underground laboratories. Because the way that I see Arasaka in the early stages was like, we need to stay powerful. We need to find a way to make a lot of money and still have major control. And that's how I view it. So like in my kind of the world that I'm writing is like I think Arasaka, while they're known as being shady, part of that reputation in my world's built up from doing really shady shit. So their laboratories hidden underground in Watson being like the cyber psycho like testing ground and leading to other like future developments in tech, I think makes sense with that. We haven't really dived into a whole lot because my people haven't really made it out of Watson yet, and I think I'm gonna try to kind of go farther with that, like with a lot of like corporations. I want to explore the kind of shady underhanded dealings that corporations do and kind of like a power struggle between corporations and government, because like in 2077 the corporations seem to at least have way more influence over the government. I want to kind of tell the story of how like, well, these powerful corporations already had like they had a lot of power but they didn't have complete power, and I want to kind of tell a story where the corporations are vying for getting more and more of that power and telling a story about how the corruption formed. And that's kind of where I'm trying to get at with it. Now we're very early on. This campaign is going to probably last a lot longer than my other one because I don't really have like a time frame for this campaign. I still have some of the same ideals for it. I want my players' choices to matter. Um, but there's going to be a lot more named characters. There's going to be a lot more lore. And as I said before, I'm not using any of the existing names except for like the locations and the company names, and stuff like that. No individual character names. And I've ran into that problem like, oh, Arasaka is a family company based on the Arasakas. And I was like, well, you know, in real life, companies with those names don't always end up being the ones to run those companies and control those companies anymore. Maybe they sell them off and keep the name on the masthead, all that kind of deal. So I think that's where I'm going with it. And I'm having a lot of fun with it. A lot of the rules that I've wrote out for it are good so far, but I do run into the problem when like I've set up a campaign, like a set of like encounters and conflicts, and then I miss players. I want to keep going each week, even if I don't have a lot of players, because I don't want to have to cancel my game. I enjoy it, even if I have like two people show up. I still think it's a lot of fun. Like this last session was a lot of fun with two people, and I think I'm going to keep going that way. Now, maybe if I have one person, I probably won't continue. But like if I have at least two people other than me, I think I'll continue running it. Timeline for this, I don't really have a long timeline for this. Like, I think that I could get, if everything goes well and we don't have any major stumbling blocks, like a whole total party wipe, I think we could easily get to, I don't know, 50 sessions. Um, the last one was 30, which that was an expedient campaign. I was trying to get them at a consistent pace to level 50 and or level 20, and do it in a meaningful time span. And it was weird because we were all learning the rules and there was some, kind of fucky shit. But we don't really have that with this. I'm writing all the rules. So a lot of this is just balancing things out within the one-page rule system I've already got set up. Now, I think it leaves a lot on me as the DM to have to write all of that stuff, which, you know, I don't mind. I have a lot more time. If I was running multiple campaigns, I don't think I would do that. I think I would leave it. I would stick with something like D&D 5e or like a more simple system if I was going to have to like DM multiple campaigns. But at least right now I can devote all my time to this. And then maybe in the future I won't have to change anything as far as rules go to run it. And I don't know if I'll do another Cyberpunk campaign after this one, but I'm going to have a lot of fun with this one. And I think my players are as well. Kind of to touch back with the like psychological horror element in 5e, at least from the one long campaign I did, you have to micromanage a lot of players' abilities to keep suspense going. It's really hard to keep suspense going if the players know that one hit point can bring their character up. A quick use of a healing word, can bring their character up. And it's like they know the roles, they know everything. I've kept everything in this game very vague as far as how they get up and how like other players can help them out. I want them to feel as though they need to go get medical attention. Now, John's character, his new character, is a med tech. That should simplify things for them, but he is not a team of surgeons. I think that there are still going to be situations where it's going to be out of his depth. Yeah, he can keep them alive, but can he keep them alive for like 5 hours without direct medical attention? No. So I want that sense of urgency. Just because they're not dead doesn't mean they can't die. And that's how I want that to play forward. I want that sense of urgency. Oh, we're just gonna plug him in the corner and then search the rest of the dungeon because he's only unconscious. No, fuck that. I want the sense of immediacy to happen. I want there to be attention from that, and it's turning out great. I think it's working out well. The recent character death that we had, I spent a lot of time planning. Not for that because I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't know they're like, yes, I role played the character to plug it into them. I think that was reasonable for that NPC to do that. They had set up that scenario where they're like, hey, it's safe. We're trying to do this. She's a netrunner. She knows more than they do. She's going to test it out before she plugs it into herself. They said it was safe, so she plugs it in. Did I make the player roll for a check? No. I'm sorry, but like, if you stick a booby-trapped fucking explosive into your neck, no matter whose neck, it's blowing up. It was meant for error or conceivably virus. The players went with the error option. They could have saved it and possibly did virus. Death Lily's not really pressing them on a timeline. She hasn't even contacted them, even though they've already done the job. So this is either something that's not super important to her, or it's very much on the back burner, it looks like, or feels like. So now, the death itself, was it a shock? Man, I built up Death Lily to, at least in that interaction, to be frustratingly, like, nonchalantly shady. Um, you know, she talked down to the players. She even role played that she underestimated them the first time. And I was trying to make it seem like the daughter was there and really it was Death Lily. Could I have done more damage to the players the first time they encountered her? Yeah. But I wasn't trying to like fuck them up. I wanted to keep that suspense. So when they find out it's Death Lily, oh my god, fuck! How long has she been fucking with us? That just happens to be a coincidence. They're not really. She doesn't really care. She doesn't know. She's just doing shit. And somebody paid a lot of money for her to be on that job, or she was just bored. They'll find out. So, the death itself, once again, I'm rambling, but it's my video. I'm going to ramble. Um, I didn't make him roll, and I think that was justified. There was plenty of warning signs. Player-wise, especially after my last campaign, I think John has grown a lot, and I think he understands. Now, I rolled a 1d4. It could have been any of the players. John chose not to move her hands out of the way, not to stop her, not to back out. He chose to let her plug it in. I would say, like Austin or one of the other characters, probably wouldn't have allowed that to happen. So he allowed this to happen. He made those choices, and he made those educated choices. He didn't know it was an explosive, but they knew it was a tracker. They knew it was something that Death Lily had, and that she was giving them. And they'd never met her before. They haven't asked. They didn't ask a lot of questions. The ones they did ask, they didn't press for. There was also a lot less rolls. They didn't roll a lot of stuff to try to see if they could, get more information out of Death Lily. Now, would it have been hard? Yes, but she's a solo. She's not a social character. While she might have higher stats, she doesn't have proficiency and profession in those points, which means she could conceivably maybe have a +5, +6. A profession like a PNP having character would be on an equal playing field with her as far as lying and getting information. But they didn't ask. And this is something that they're learning right now is like they more checks to find information is important, and keeping your cards close to your chest. A lot of the trouble they're getting themselves into is giving out and divulging information through conversation. In older D&D, and not older, but in our last D&D campaign, the information that they were giving out wasn't really important. You couldn't just pick up a cell phone and call somebody on the other side of the city. It required message or magic or, to send a writer. So it was conceivable that right after something happened, an enemy wouldn't know it immediately. In Cyberpunk, the way that I'm running it, it is possible that second, if not right then, somebody may be watching through a camera, a neural link, or somebody may have called them and gave them that information. So things can happen very quickly. So when they give out information like, oh, we're here for this, or we're here, it's very easy for me to just come to the conclusion, okay, as an NPC who is smart, has resources at their disposal, like Death Lily or like Pockets, these people have networks. The character's still creating their networks. And they're starting to understand, like, oh shit, when we give out information, that means something, either to us or to somebody else, and has a consequence that ripples out and can cause problems for us. John, especially, he's kind of been put in the leadership role, whether he wants it or not, to talk, means that he has to keep everything really close to his chest. And because of that, a lot of the situations with some of these NPCs are going to get a little crazy in the future, unless that changes, which I think is going to be fun. John's new character is going to add a lot of utility to the party, and I think will make them feel safer about moving forward into those bigger dungeons and those, well, I say dungeons, but bigger missions. And I think that means I can do more extravagant things. Right now, it's like, okay, you get shot like 3 or 4 times, you're done. Now it's conceivable that they can get shot multiple times. He performs like field surgery. Max stocks are super strong right now for them. So it's conceivable that these players can get into multiple gunfights now and not have to retreat back to back to their Ripper Dock or to Pockets to get more gear. And especially with the first laboratory that they went into, they realize having a little bit more gear and more capability going into these things because they don't know what to expect is more important. It is important in D&D, But I think they forget just because it's a modern or futuristic setting doesn't mean that there aren't going to be unexpected things like no light or like poison or traps. I'm slowly going to introduce more of that stuff as I go in, but I wanted them to have a build up for it. The world is, being set up, and that's where we're at now. Once they leave Watson, it's going to be more open world, and I'm going to have a lot more NPCs, a lot more things going on. There's a chance that they can run into higher level shit, and there'll be plenty of fair warning, but they could stumble on situations that they might not be ready for, and that is up to them to decide to retreat. I'll make it as obvious as I can within reason, if it makes sense to the story. Now, once again, I'm not writing a novel. I want my players to have fun. I want them to be engaged. But if I give them lots and lots of hints, I expect them to do a little thinking and a little problem solving. And I think it's going to be fun. And I will try to make any fucked up things that happen, for example, Death Lily showing up, chopping off one of their arms, as less brutal as possible. That situation was a story moment. It's set up. Could they have died? Yes, if they were incredibly stupid and said some very horrific things. Some of the ways that John was role playing, as Death Lily, she mentioned, I may delimb you and then ask questions later. And I think that is a very scary thing to a low level party. She's a fucking legend. I wrote all of these like legend backgrounds. I do kind of one a week in my intros, and they're not all dead. They might be retired or they might not do a lot, but they're not all dead. They still active in the world. And I think that gives a level of, oh shit, I need to be careful about how I act, because somebody can hire a legend or a really high fucking edge runner and come take me out if I'm doing some fucking nut shit. And I like that. It's almost like a, hey, those big time adventures still exist, and it is possible you as a lower level adventurer, if you don't do the right shit, they may come after you, or you might be on a job with one of them, or they're retired and they have an alias and you don't know who the fuck they are. So I want a lot of that mystery in there, and I think it's going well. Some of the things that I think the players have to work on is there's less restrictions in my game than there are in D&D. So like we don't really use an initiative system. I'm always, if the bad guys have ambush, they have ambush. There's nothing you can do about it unless you say, hey, I'm rolling an awareness. You need to be telling me I'm paying attention. You are, as far as I'm role playing it, you're not special. You are special because of your skill set and your ability to think. This is not I'm not going to hold your hands all the way. You need to tell me what you're doing and how you're doing it. So if you're going into a shady situation, you don't roll awareness, you're not going to see the ambush. And they're going to get to go first, period. Now, you set an ambush as the players. Most of the time, if an enemy has no reason to believe there's an ambush, they're not going to know. But if they're a legend and they're seasoned and they've been around the block a couple times, they're going to probably know to look for it. And so that makes my initiative better. I also want the players to be able to pick how they move. They need to be able to work as a team. If they don't work as a team and their medic goes first because they decide, okay, I want the medic to go first, and he shoots his gun, and the next guy goes, whatever. Well, when it comes to the end to come back around and your medic went first, well, you're kind of setting that up going forward in the interaction. Unless you guys decide to tell me, okay, we're going to reset our initiative order so our solo goes first, so that if he goes down, my healer can get him up. That's a tactics thing. They need to think like that. Taking cover is a big deal. I'm not using an advantage disadvantage system, but it's pretty close. Covers +5 if it covers more than half of your body, or like 3/4. That's not set in stone, situational, but like for the most part, you can get cover. And when a gun can take you out 1 or 2 hits, cover is a big deal. There's a lot of situations where in this last session where cover saved a bad guy from getting one-shotted and allowed that NPC to fire more rounds at the players, which is not something that they want. And I want them to think like that. I want them to be in like session 20, where they're like, okay, we're going to take 5 minutes before we set this ambush, or we're going to take 5 minutes before we move into this building and tell each other how we're going to interact with each other going forward. Um, and I want that. This, there's a level of tactics to this. It's not, oh, I'm just going to run into the fight. Yeah, I think 5e has some, but you don't have to be as strict. There's very small chances, at least from my experience in 5e, unless you're fighting something over leveled or over CR'd, that you're going to come across something that can one shot you or two shot you. And the dispersal of damage is important in here. I'd say more so than D&D is. A lot of these characters at level 5, if they've got good gear and they've got good players and they got good builds, you really have to up the CR in order for it to be challenging, in my opinion, depending on what their builds are. And I mean, that can be fun, especially for a newer group of people, but I don't consider my group new anymore. They've been playing for, at this point, almost a year. And that's a good amount of time. Experience-wise, it's going to be what it is. Like, they're not going to be doing some crazy out-of-the-box shit. But they're going to at least understand, I need to be rolling awareness. I need to roll stealth, What it is now is, I think, the drama, the intensity. My game is intense. There's a lot of shit going on. There's a lot of shit going on in the background that they have to remember. And then when they get into combat, a lot of them are thinking about how this is going to affect them. Are the cops coming? Is trauma team coming? If I die here, how am I getting out? As a result, they're forgetting a lot of things. They're forgetting to roll stealth. They're forgetting to do awareness. But that stuff costs. And once they're in combat, it costs points. So it's good. I think it's going well. And I'm asking them, more importantly, for feedback as I go. Yeah, I'm not going to change the whole tone of my campaign. I let them pick. They got to pick. This is one of the options for the campaign I'm running. And as far as rules go, that's the important. If something's too strong, I'll probably retcon it right in the middle. And we'll go back to something else. I'll retcon that action happened if I have to. But so far, I haven't had to do that. And as long as I keep within my relative balance, it should be fine. The Netrunner stuff is new to the players, and as soon as one of them dies, probably, and plays a Netrunner, they'll find out. There is a system to it. It isn't ridiculously strong. It's fucking future magic. When somebody can just reach out and make your gun not work, that's a pretty fucking big deal to a solo. So, I think that's cool. Let's see. Do I have any thoughts or any other updates to update people on? No. So, aside from this campaign just being really spicy, it's going to be spicy. I'm a little worried that the YouTube channel will get strike down as I get bigger for this stuff. And I think after the next campaign, I might private some of these Cyberpunk videos because they're getting pretty spicy, which there's a lot of content. So it's hard to find, but it is spicy. And I think long term for the channel, it won't be good if I leave it up. But I'll wait till I have another campaign going to take it all down. I might put it in its own playlist and I'll private it and somebody can message me and I can send them links or something like that. Or comment on a video and I can send links or something. I don't know. I'm still working on the YouTube stuff and how it all works. Let's see. And as far as the updates for the fighting stuff, right now I can only get out there once or twice a month. So if you've seen a lot of spam shorts, that's what it is. I'm spamming a lot of shorts. Shorts are how I grow my channel, basically. Nobody comes for the D&D stuff right off the bat. Nobody comes for the LARP stuff right off the bat. I'm not big enough. What people do see is the shorts. On average, pretty much, when I put out a short, I'll get anywhere from 2,000 to 10,000 views from 4 to 8 shorts. And I've sort of found that the YouTube algorithm doesn't like it when I upload 4 shorts every day. I don't really care about if I upload the D&D ones, but if I upload 4 shorts every day, I notice I get less viewership. And I think that's because they think I'm spamming the algorithm, which I am. So I think I'm gonna probably stick to uploading 4 shorts every 2 or 3 days, and I will try to do a couple more videos. I know the tutorials are supposed to come up for weapon builds, but my life's very busy right now, so I gotta work on that. I gotta set up my back room in my other part of my room where I have to clear the table off between D&D sessions and lay a tarp out and build on there so I can do videos for it, for all the builds. So I want to do the builds, I want to do tutorials, but I want them to be done well and done right. And I probably will disable comments on them. I'm not interested in having people critique my builds. I've been doing it long enough. It's 5-year-old tech for most of DAG, but it's like 10 years newest tech for YouTube. There's not a lot of Dagger Hero Belgarth videos out there, just that are updated. And my builds are unique. I use a little more carpet tape in some of my builds, but I also order specific thicknesses of foam so I don't have to dap inside because most of my building's done inside. I don't really, until now, recently, I haven't really had a space to do it outside. I do now, but I haven't set it up. So that's kind of where that's going to go. As far as other videos, I'm just going to be uploading a lot of the videos from practice, a lot of, the videos from D&D. It's really easy to do that. Stream it, video it, and then clip it, ship it, and I'm done. I don't have to do anything. I can spend on average, maybe 30 minutes a day just doing that, and I don't have to do anything. The amount of time I've talked in this video is more effort than I've put into any of my shorts and uploading any of those videos. Really, because I screen capture a lot of it on my phone while I watch it, that's what takes the longest, is when I screen capture that 10-minute video of like the drama that happened in something. Like, that's what takes the longest. Shorts, man, I don't know if you noticed, they're very low quality. I just clip them and ship them. I throw whatever music on it when I think is gonna spam some views. Because really, the shorts aren't necessarily for the people on the channel. The shorts are the sending out that bottle in the sea, just sending them out. And if I have a limited amount of bottles, so I'm just gonna send hundreds of bottles out until people come to the channel and see it. And that's pretty much working. It's working so far, and it's actually, I think it's actually been reduced. I think the algorithm's starting to say, "Hey, he's spamming" or something. I don't know. The algorithm feels like magic, but I'm getting less views on the shorts, so I may just pump up more shorts. I don't know yet. I'm still figuring it out. But I do notice my live streams are getting more views. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet, but I really want to turn those live streams into long form videos where I just upload the whole thing. Or maybe if I ever learn to edit, cut out some of the downtime, the breaks and stuff, and then upload them. Because those views will be better for my channel than just leaving them up as live streams. But right now, I have a consistent schedule for a consistent upload cadence, which I can keep doing as long as I don't make things overcomplicated. Maybe if I get bigger and I don't have to, work for a living, maybe I'll do some crazy short, or maybe I get somebody to volunteer to edit videos and like promise them like a 15-20% rev share in the future. That's down the road. I'm not even at 1,000 subs yet. So that's pretty much where I'm planning with that. And I think that's it. We're almost at fucking 30 minutes, so I will talk to you guys later, and I hope you like the content. Feel free to comment. If I don't like a comment, I'll delete it. Not free speech here. I just, whatever I don't like, I'm going to delete it until I figure out what I want in there. But I will try to do more tutorials, and I will keep doing what I'm doing because I'm enjoying it. Thank you guys. Have a good night.